how's everybody doing on time? I know it's a little late. So thank you so much for being here. Really, really appreciate your presence. And thank you, Analytics India Magazine, for running a fabulous show with this conference going on so far. We were playing a little game in the night, and we were just thinking about it. What if we can convert the Gen AI into a drinking game, right? Every time some speaker says Gen AI, you get a shot, right? It's a fun game, and will lead to a lot of interesting conversations after that. But jokes apart, I've been doing a little bit of research on the startup culture in Bangalore, right? Anybody on the audience can tell me how many startups are registered from Bangalore? Any vague idea? You're close. Not that close. 7,000 plus, right? So a huge round of applause for Bangalore. I think this is what we need. We need more of that in India to ensure that we have this continuous innovation culture going on, right? Now coming back, thank you so much for your encouragement here. Disclaimer, me and my co-presenter, we would be presenting the work which is done, research which is we have been doing ourselves, not representing any organization or any individual, right? Being very clear about that. We'll do a little bit of introduction, we'll cover a wide gamut of topics over here. We would be talking about a specific thought process that we have been working on, and then we will be trying to bring it together with the existing data engineering practices that we have and the ecosystem as well. Not only talking about, okay, data, okay, AI, no like that. So we'll try and connect the dots and see how can that really transform into business as well as social impacts. Right? Helping you think today, I'm Suneet. I work on all of these things, sometimes on the same day. My co-presenter, Govind, he's a very talented and a published author. You'll get to hear from him as well at a later point. Talking about data organizations, right? Who here does not deal with data every day? Just raise your hand. Awesome, right? So everybody here deals with data. And can anybody tell me what is their favorite regulation? GDPR. Well, I can tell you, no regulation is favorite to engineers. Engineers hate working with regulations. And there's a reason for it, because we feel restricted. We don't want to actually get matchboxed under the rules. But that's the reality of the world we live in. We would want to continue to evolve. And we are trying to bring in some of the thought processes here as part of this talk, where how can we overcome these challenges of regulations, privacy, scarcity. Anybody deals with scarcity over here? Data scarcity? Absolutely. I'm assuming you work with customer data, right? So customer data is always going to be scarce, and how do we deal with that? We'll try and address some aspects of that. Companies have invested millions, billions, and in some cases trillions of dollars in their existing ecosystems, right? And as part of that, does it really mean with the introduction of AI that companies are going to throw everything away? No, right? It's very unlikely situation. So how do we figure out opportunities within the existing products and the systems that we have to introduce AI? That's what we will be talking about today. Slim AI framework, right? Obviously, it goes counter to my personality and my body type, but still, it is a very, very powerful thought framework that we are trying to bring in today. The Slim AI framework lets any product, you throw it at any product, and you will be clearly able to identify where all the areas where I can modify the existing loved product and introduce AI to that, right? It introduces various aspects of it. There are 4 pillars to it. There's synthesis, locate, intelligence, and measure. SLIM is an abbreviation for all these 4 pillars that we have. And the way it will help is to actually accelerate the AI adoption within the business roadmaps and the strategies. That there's a continuous inflow of questions coming in from business. Where can we use this? Where can we use this? This framework can actually answer where can you use this. Artificial intelligence adoption, of course, it's going to be a very, very critical aspect, right? Again, a drinking game thing. Data science and engineering, it is going to evolve. There is no denying, and we have seen all last 1.5 days that it is continuously going to be impactful. We will have to work towards changing things, accelerating things. With that, we'll dive into the first pillar, which is synthesis. My friend here dealing with the data scarcity, my friends over there, or all of you dealing with regulations, right? We cannot move the data around cross borders very easily. What do we do with that, right? But we still need to do data pipelines, we still need to do data science models using all those restrictions. We need to figure out ways to overcome some of that. And at the same time, stay compliant by design. We are not saying that we will find loopholes within the system, no. I think that's a wrong way of looking at it. The right way of looking at it, we still stay compliant by system, by design, but at the same time solve the regulation problems that we have. Like if you look at business, banking and financial organizations, call center transcripts. Call center transcripts, even though they're anonymized, they are not shared. And even if they're shared, they're only shared for a certain slice. You cannot do topic indexing on top of them. You cannot build predictive models based on that, say, okay, if you cannot connect the dots using that information. So how synthesis can really help us? Synthetic data. This is just one piece of the puzzle. When we are looking at the restrictions, the regulations that we have on the place, we need to think about how can we synthesize the data in a way where it is compliance, it is statistically and aesthetically equal to the existing production data that we have. I don't want access to the production data, but I want something which is very similar to that I can work with. I need to have a scale. I'm building a pipeline for a terabytes of data ingestion, but you have given me only 100 GB. How do I do a scaling testing? I mean, it really doesn't work that way. So with use of the synthetic data generation technologies that we have right now, GAN and tabular GAN is a very powerful technique that is there. GAN is largely used at this point of time for your generative AI on imaging and videos. But at the same time, anybody who's actually worked with deepfake or understands deepfake, they know that GAN is the underlying technology that is used in the background. That can the same technology can be used to put it in front of your tabular data and make sure that you have the aesthetically similar data coming out of it. Or maybe multiply that data to increase the volume. But that is just half of the equation. What about the call center information? What about the customer interaction transcripts? What do we do with that? We need LLMs, we need generative AI on that front as well to generate the synthetic data, which will help me do my topic modeling. It will do my sentiment analysis checks, ensuring production data and non-production data is a big aspect of our day. BFSI, at one point of my career, I was working in BFSI organization. The production data and non-production data does not match. Anybody from BFSI here? Yes? Can you say yes or no on that? Yes, right? The production data and non-production, I don't know what I'm working with or I'm working for. So we need to solve that problem, and generative AI will solve this particular aspect with synthesis as one of the pillars of the SLIM model. With that, I hand over to my friend Guru. He goes by Guru. Guru, take it over.
Hey, thank you everyone. It's been long since I have been in a stage. I think it was way back in 2020 when I used to train folks at Great Learning. Yeah. So here we are going to talk about locate. So There are time-sensitive applications, say for example, credit card frauds or like intrusions. And you need to access certain data, but it might take time for you to get that information. So that's where the concept of self-service analytics come into play. I know that all the companies are talking about it, but how do we do it and how to go about is what we are going to cover here. So if you look at the human language, right, for self-service analytics, text-to-SQL is something that everyone talks about. I think before me, maybe like 3 to 4 speakers were speaking about it. So, but you look at the human language, right, it is highly contextual in nature, and it's free-flowing. So until unless you know the context, you will not be able to locate the information that you're looking for. So that's where GenAI is going to help you. I'm sorry I'm using the word GenAI again and again. I know that drinking game. But yeah, so GenAI is more like a thought process, right? It is going to help you fasten the process. So we were using NLP, we were using like deep learning before to do the text-to-SQL. But over here, the advantage of using an LLM is that you don't have to, do training. There is no pre-processing, there is no post-processing. If you want to like have some sort of domain knowledge getting embedded into deep learning, that's like really difficult. But with the advent of LLMs, you can have an long-term memory. You can feed in the data into the long-term memory and retrieve it. So I'm just going to talk a bit about the metadata part. So for example, like in a banking industry or like credit cards, you generally have a lot of tables. Okay. And if you can get the metadata, the table schema, the table description, you would be able to build maybe an 70 to 80% accurate system for self-service analytics. You could store it into a vector DB like Pinecone, and you could retrieve it with an IUI for the interface. But if you look at this, there is a lot of shortcomings because there are scenarios where the LLM would start hallucinating. It will start giving you complex queries, and that might make the job run for longer. So this is not foolproof, but we can overcome it with the help of something called as knowledge graph, which I would cover in the upcoming slides. So going to the next part, intelligence or knowledge. Knowledge is multidimensional. It is never linear. So how do you get to understand complex relationships? As a human, it becomes a bit difficult for us to think beyond 3 dimensions. Even thinking 3 dimensions is difficult for me. So how would you like understand complex relationships? How would you make a system understand complex relationships? That's where your knowledge graph come into play. Let's take the example of an auto insurance company. So they are going to deal with a lot of claims data. Okay, they are going to. It takes time for them to process a claims data because it's all natural language. You need to understand the context. You need to derive value out of it. So what if an auto insurance company can build a network, build a knowledge graph, where you have the information about the customers, their claims, the location information, the weather pattern, the claims done by a repair shop, the claims that were there as a part of a particular car model, if you get the information. So you could come up with a really good customer segmentation. You could improve the way that you deal with your customers. You could reduce your fraud. So these are some of the applications that you can build with a knowledge graph. And knowledge graph per se is really beautiful. You would come to a point where you would start unearthing information that you never thought existed. So with that, I will go to the, I'll hand it over to Suneet for the next session on SLIM. So Suneet, over to you. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. So thank you, Guru, for taking us. So we so far have covered 3 aspects of the SLIM framework that we have. We've seen synthesis, we've seen locate, we've seen intelligence. Now let's look at measure. KPIs. Everybody talks about KPIs, right? But for any particular human interactions, KPIs do not matter. KPIs do not matter. For a business to look good or look bad, KPIs do make sense, but for humans, human interaction KPIs do not matter. How do we quantify results which are not really, cannot be measured using your regular KPIs? Click-through rate is a good measure, but is that really helping? Debatable. So I'll take you guys through a thought here. There is a particular student who's struggling. Is a 8th standard student who's struggling, right? And it's a and people who have kids of that age or even younger or older, kids do struggle sometimes, right? That kid goes to teacher and asks to explain a particular concept to them. Teacher does it twice, thrice, student comes back. The student goes back to the book and tries to understand that information, not really able to get it. Goes to his parents or her parents. They also understand, or maybe they are not educated enough to really help that kid. What do we do in that case? The anxiety that kid goes through, the mental health issues that kids goes through, the embarrassment that kids goes through is beyond KPIs. You cannot measure the state of mind of that particular student at that point. We can solve that. And this is exactly where Gen AI should be used, should be applied, right? All the systems that we have for the schooling systems, right? The student profile, the academic history, course materials, right? Any type of LMS systems which are there, right? Teacher recommendations for that, all right now are existing. And in some cases, in some advanced schools, technology has started creeping in. Recommendation engines. It's going into recommendation engine that, okay, you give this kid ABC and he'll succeed or she'll succeed. That doesn't work that way in real world. We need a study buddy for the kids. And this is where hyper-personalization kicks in. A kid can ask the same question in 10 different ways at any point of the day. The LLM will not get mad at the kid. The kid will not feel embarrassed. In fact, the kid will go back and the LLM will go back and try and refine this information so that it makes sense. There can be active cases where we have the feedback loop being built in. So think about the social aspects as well when we are thinking from a Gen AI standpoint, and this is exactly where Slim comes into play. Slim will help you think that way, right? I have an existing system or a product. There's a pressure coming from my business, my competition, my neighbor, that if you're not working on AI, what are you doing? I mean, you're going to feel left out. No, that's not. Don't succumb to FOMO. Apply Slim, and you will be able to actually figure out ways to do that. We have also curated a few reference architectures that can be leveraged to solve some of the use cases that we have talked through, including the knowledge tree creation as well as the SQL, text-to-SQL, right? These are pretty standard. There's no secret over here. You guys can figure it out by yourself as well. Same goes for personalized assistants and assistants architecture as well, and the synthetic data architecture. I mean, personal assistants are hard, right? And when we want to take them to the next level where hyper-personalized, it gets harder. But that's the trick of the trade, right? Try and understand these aspects and you will actually be able to do a lot better in the social business aspects and create a big impact over that. With that, just coming back together to the Slim AI framework, we're looking at 4 aspects here: synthesize, locate, intelligence, and measure. They all work. In many cases, if you throw them at a particular product, they will actually figure out for more than one opportunity spaces where artificial intelligence can be used to an existing adapted product in the market. launching a new AI product is not going to solve, or maybe it will take some time for adoption. But if you have 100,000 users of your product, why throw those 100,000 users under the bus? Use this to AIfy your existing products and ecosystem while the groundbreaking aspects or groundbreaking products are coming up in the market. Right? It can breathe fresh air into your data. Of course, data is going to be the key for it, the quality of the data. At the same time, looking at all the aspects, how do you massage it, how do you ensure that there is no or low biasness in the data. It's going to be a very, very interesting journey for every single one of us here. And create business and social impact, right? I think the last one is very close to my heart, creating business and social impact, because they go hand in hand. We cannot really do only business and throw the society under the bus and think only about social and don't care about the business, because that's not the economics of the world works, right? And it's applicable across all business domains and including government. I think government is a very big space where this needs to be there in some shape or form. Transportation, agriculture, right? And I am a little biased for healthcare, so yes, healthcare and life sciences as well. It's definitely applicable over there. With that, we'll take a pause, maybe a few questions, and be ready for change. It's not the best engineers who actually deliver continuous value, not the most intelligent. It's an adaptation of one of the quotes I was reading. I don't remember that quote now. Maybe it was from, but yeah. But we need to be responsive to the change.